Today we're going to be reviewing Doomseeker by Ninja Division right after this. Hey everybody, Sam here from the Tabletop Hub, your one-stop shop for all things tabletop. And today, as I said, we're reviewing Doomseeker, which is a 2 to 4 player competitive card game where players take on the role of a dwarven slayer on the hunt for a glorious death. Now, the game is a licensed Game Workshop game set in the old world of the Warhammer Fantasy universe, but it is published by Ninja Division, and I think it is important to preface this review that I'm totally aware that over the past couple of years, for a plethora of reasons, Ninja Division have fallen out of favour with what seems to be a large portion of the tabletop community. Now, I wasn't aware of any of that when I first picked this game up, but regardless of what's happened, or is happening with the publisher, I think it's important to look at this game objectively and review it as such, because regardless of what's happening, it doesn't stop Doomseeker from being a really great game. So with that said, let me tell you why. Setting up the game is incredibly simple. Players start by choosing their Slayer. While each one has the same starting strength and wounds, they all have their own unique abilities and style. Once you lay down the board, you'll shuffle your Fate cards, which are cards you can play to help or hinder combat, the Treasure deck, which is full of useful trinkets, and the Doom deck, which is full of Skaven, Greenskins, and Chaos enemies whose heads are ready to be caved in at the end of your axe. Now, the aim of the game is pretty much the aim of the Slayer. Go out there into the wild, find the biggest, baddest thing, and fight it. If you kill it, it wasn't that big or bad, and you should probably keep looking. If it kills you, that was the biggest, baddest thing out there, and you've earned yourself a glorious death. With that in mind, players take it in turns to choose a Doom to fight in order to try and earn a glorious death. Each Doom has a wound stat and an associated gold worth. Now, the wound stat is the number you'll need to roll to kill it, the gold worth being the amount of gold you'll earn for doing so. Now, these Fate cards can be anything from if the Slayer defeats the Doom, you get some gold, to the Doom gains +2 strength and the Slayer fighting it gets a Fate card, to your Slayer fights the Doom instead, pay the original Slayer 3 gold for his time. The best way I can describe these Fate cards is that it's kind of like that scene in The Last Samurai where Tom Cruise is learning to fight and the other samurai are kind of sitting there watching and betting on how well he'll do. I bet you 3 gold the Grungi can't defeat the Beastman. If you defeat a Doom, it gets added to your pile and will count towards your score at the end of the game. If you don't manage to defeat them, the Doom escapes you and you gain nothing but a wound, and a new Doom takes its place on the board. The game continues like this, but as more Dooms are slayed, their difficulty increases. Tier 1 Dooms turn into Tier 2, Tier 2 turn into Tier 3, and all of a sudden, instead of fighting a weak Skaven warrior, you're facing off against a Screaming Bell or a great demon of chaos. And this is where your gold and the treasure come into use. These trinkets can be anything from health potions to axes, which will increase your strength in a fight. And knowing when and what to invest your gold in is incredibly important, ensuring that you live long enough to earn a good death. And that right there is the most difficult thing about Doomseeker: knowing when to die. Now, there aren't many games out there that I can think of where you're actually penalised for staying alive. And when you first play Doomseeker, it's really tempting to buy lots of strength-boosting axes and go and fight as many Dooms as you can. And while that's admirable, it's not really the point. You see, once there are no more Dooms left in the Doom pile, you have until the flow of play reaches the player with the Saga card, which is in essence the turn tracker, and that's when the game will end. If you're not careful, what happens is that players go on a mad scramble as they all try to die. It's kind of strange actually saying that out loud, but that's what happens. You see, at the end of the game, the way you figure out who won is by renown points. Each Doom you kill is worth 1 renown, an epic Doom is worth 2 renown, but if you die to a Doom, it gets applied to your score pile too, the idea being that you both died in a bloody glorious battle. And if that Doom was epic, it's worth 5 points instead of 2, which gives you a massive boost. And while it is possible to score decently if you don't manage to die by the end of the game, it is incredibly difficult to try and outscore a fellow Slayer that did die. But of course, there is a catch to this, and it comes back to what I said a moment ago. The key to Doomseekers is knowing when to die. Die near the end of the game and you'll be nearly unstoppable. Die too soon, however, and the chances are you'll have died to something pretty pathetic and won't actually be able to have the chance to earn all those extra points from dying to an epic Doom. If you do die quite early in the game though, there is a way to redeem yourself. Even in death, players can continue to affect the flow of gameplay. You see, even if your Slayer is dead, you have a chance to play fate cards on your fellow Slayer's fights. Not only that, but you can bet on the outcome of fights using rune tokens, which are a kind of currency you can use to re-roll dice that players accrue during the game. If you bet incorrectly, you lose the rune token and gain nothing, but if you bet correctly, you gain a renown token, which can be added to your tally at the end of the game. One of my biggest problems with this game though is that there can and is a lot to remember as you're playing through it. You've got the Saga card, which transitions from player to player after every round, which is in essence once each player has had a turn. You get a rune token when you pass this on, but if you take a wound while it's been in your possession, you also get a fate card and another rune token. You have grudge cards. Now these are unique to each player and give you another way to win points in the game. Usually they say that if you've got enough of one enemy faction of Dooms in your score pile, you get a renown token for each one. And then you've also got character-specific bonuses which can trigger at any time. Like if someone defeats a Doom, you would get a fate card. If you defeat a Doom, you get more gold, and so on. The core gameplay of Doomseekers works. It's solid and it's fun, but when you play the game, you'll find yourself or other players forgetting about at least one of these additional things that can earn you points or loot in-game. Does it make the game mechanics feel a little crowded? Sure. But does it detract from the overall experience and fun of the game? I don't think so. I've played Doomseekers with hardcore tabletop board gamers and people who would never willingly touch a board game like this in their life, and all of them have come away wanting more. In some cases, I can tell how accessible or how good a game is based on whether my wife likes it, and this gets a massive thumbs up of approval from her, to the point where any time we basically sit down to play a game, she enthusiastically asks that we play Doomseekers. She's also a redhead and always plays as the kick-ass female Slayer. I don't know if there's something more going on there, if there's some kind of projecting happening, but we'll probably skim over that. Is Doomseekers a game I think you should have in your collection? Definitely. It's accessible, it's easy to learn, and it's just a lot of fun. But folks, that is it. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it here on my channel watching me ramble about some board games. If you have enjoyed today's review, do feel free to subscribe to be kept up to date of when my new videos go live. But until next time, folks, have a great week, and I will of course speak to you all soon.